The seemingly irresistible force of the Russian military is breaking, Mr. Deputy Speaker, on the immovable object of Ukrainian resistance. And we in this House remain lost in our admiration for the Ukrainians, for their heroism, and for the continued inspiration that they are given by President Volodymyr Zelensky. And yet it remains all too possible that Putin can still achieve something that he can call a victory. All that he needs to do is to hang on to some piece of land that he has conquered, and the signal will go around the world that aggression can pay and that borders can be changed by force. All he needs to do to claim some kind of victory is to continue the cynical policy he's followed since the first invasion of 2014, which the Shadow Foreign Secretary rightly dwelt on, to use his foothold in Ukraine to destabilise the whole country. Unless he's purged from Ukrainian territory, he will twist his knife in the wound. Unless he's finally defeated in Ukraine, Putin's revanchist ambitions will be unchecked. And that is why it is so crucial that we now accelerate our support for Ukraine and give them the tools to finish the job. We can all be proud of what the governments, successive governments, have done to help the Ukrainians. And their armed forces continue to fight like lions, and it is they who deserve the credit. But be in no doubt, Western equipment has been invaluable. And the story of the last 12 months is that sooner or later, having exhausted all the other options, we give them what they need, from anti-tank missiles to HIMARS to tanks. And so if that is the choice, sooner or later, then for heaven's sake, let's give these weapons sooner. But it's curious that we're doing this before we've even taken the decision in principle to give them the planes. Let's cut to the chase and give them the planes too. And if the House was in any doubt about the urgency of increasing our supply of equipment to the Ukrainians, it is becoming ever clearer that China is preparing to arm the Russians. It is time for us all to end our obfuscation about what we think of as the Ukrainian victory and what we think of as Ukraine. The Ukrainians need to be helped to restore not just the borders of February the 24th last year, but the 1991 borders on which they voted for independence. It was the West's collective weakness in 2014, the effective acquiescence in Putin's aggression, which helped to convince him that he could launch an attack last year. And we must not make that mistake again. After a year of slaughter, we need to be doing more collectively to show the people of Russia what they are losing by Putin's misrule. We should be tightening the sanctions on oil and gas wherever we can. And what I hear the arguments that members are making about the need to use frozen assets, whatever the complexities, I think the House deserves to hear those arguments properly thrashed out. We should be making it clear to Putin's entire war machine, as well as the regime in the Kremlin, that they will be held to account for their crimes, the torture, rape and indiscriminate killing that they have sponsored. We must show them the mills of justice grind slowly, but they grind small. We should designate Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism, placing that country where it now rightly belongs in the list that includes Cuba, North Korea and Syria. And by the way, we should designate the infamous and bloodthirsty Wagner Group as a foreign terrorist organisation. It is a badge that is now richly deserved and long overdue. But above all, I'm just winding up, Mr. Speaker, but above all, we must give the Ukrainians what they need to win this war this year. By ensuring that Ukraine wins and that Putin fails, we are making the best and the most financially efficient investment in the long-term security, not just of the Euro-Atlantic area, but of the whole world. We all know that we in this country made a promise to Ukraine under the 1994 Budapest Memorandum when the Ukrainians gave up their vast nuclear arsenal. We said we would come to their aid in the event of an attack. Now is the time, finally, to do what we can to honour that promise. The Ukrainians are not just fighting for their freedom, but for the cause of freedom around the world. We should give them what they need, not next month, not next year, but now.